All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we recap everything that happened in preseason game number 1 and give you some thoughts upon watching the film. So I had a chance to watch the film. Like anything else, guys, I think we all overreact to preseason, good and bad, right? We overreact to the good stuff and we overreact to the bad stuff. And I think a lot of times we tend to overreact to the final score. And the final score was 30-9. But this was a 9-6 49er lead at the 2-minute warning of the second quarter. And they were hanging tough with the Broncos, who played their ones when the Niners sat out about 20 guys. So it wasn't that surprising. I think when you factor in that context and the fact that Denver does have a really good defense. They gave up 18 points a game last year. That was third best in the league. And the Niners do have a lot of new faces on defense and a lot of new faces just across the board because of the fact they have injuries and they were resting guys. So different approaches for sure. Niners have had injuries and are trying to withstand them and kind of get through this preseason schedule and get to week 1. They're lacking depth and they've had a number of injuries. Denver, on the other hand, is they played their ones and went at it early, and yet the Niners hung around until things got away from them in the late second quarter, and then eventually the 49ers lost the second half 10-0. So it was 20-9 at halftime, and it was 30-9 at the end of the game, but it was 9-6 at the 2-minute warning of the second quarter. So it was an interesting game. Let's get into it though, because we're going to shout out some of the good and the bad that we saw and try to isolate some of the plays and show you some of the film from this. And of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades, and he's a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. All right, let's just get right into the good and the bad of preseason game number 1. And I'm going to start with Mac Jones because I thought Mac Jones was the overwhelming story of this game. He goes up. That was a phenomenal play. It looked pretty nothing like anybody can do it. A little short pass to Taylor in the flat near the goal line. No, it's where he set his feet. He was on time at the receiver, and it was too short. So it wasn't like he was a perfect player on the day, but you know what? Mac Jones looked comfortable. He played on time. He played with tempo, touch, accuracy. He didn't look flustered by the good defense that he was going against, and he made plays. Talked to him after the game. He was very matter of fact about the whole thing. I think overall, the first takeaway from the first half of this game is Mac Jones and how well Mac Jones played in the first half of this game. To me, it really, really stood out. Okay, so that was the early portion of this. The second thing that stood out was I think the inside interior tandem, and we're talking a lot about Alfred Collins and CJ West, and they both had their moments in this game. A lot of people are very critical of Alfred Collins. I get it. He's not much of a pass rusher. Davis and West took 2 guys with him and allowed Kalia to peel around and get the quarterback. It was an excellent stunt, and the kind of thing where West goes first, Davis comes around. You take your strong occupier occupies multiple guys. West did it to a T, and then Kalia on the perfect timing loops around, and he should have a free run at the quarterback and did, and that was impressive. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that. The Niners trying to utilize the power and the explosion short area of CJ West by having him go first on a stunt and then looping Kalia Davis, who's an excellent pass rusher with former linebacker. He moves incredibly well. Using him on the stunt coming around and playing games up front, I think is going to benefit West and Valdez and come So that stood out because, man, West and Kalia really look like a very good combo on the pass rush up front. That was exciting to see. That was the second thing that kind of jumped out to me. The third thing on my list was Junior Bergen. Junior Bergen was brought to give this team a dynamic punt returner, and I don't know if he read the punt perfectly on the long return, but you know what? It was set up beautiful. There was a lane to his left. He did a little jump cut, got outside, and took it to the sideline. Nice gain, nice vision. The 49ers, if there's a theme to this summer, they're tired of being crappy on special teams. They're tired of, they want this to reverse itself. They want special teams to be a strength, and Bergen's a big part of their plan. So it was great to see him have a dynamic punt return because that's his ticket to the roster. If he's going to make the roster, it's going to be as a dynamic punt returner, and he had a dynamic punt return in his first game. So that was great to see. So that was the third thing that stood out on the list. All positive so far. Mac looked great. The West Davis tackle combination looks dangerous. Junior Bergen looked good. But it wasn't all good. Which gets us to our fourth guy, and that is Spencer Burford. And, I saw this in practice. I talked about it on KMBR on the pregame. Talked about it in the videos that we did in the pregame. If you watched all my videos, I told you guys, I said, I loved Austin Pleasance in OTAs, and I no longer have that love, because he is just getting destroyed by power and by speed. I like Spencer Burford. I like him as a guy. I like him as an interviewer, as an interview subject. I like him as a prospect. He's got long arms. He's tough. He's athletic. But after watching Burford in practice and watching Pleasance in practice, now Dillard isn't out there. Prince was just recently added. We'll find out if they can, get anybody else in here of substance. But Burford is not a tackle, folks. He's not a tackle. He's not. Pleasance, I don't think, is a tackle either. I don't think these guys are quick enough. Spencer Burford was beaten so badly by Nick Benito, it wasn't funny. Just turned him into a turnstile. He's a guard. He's a slow-footed guard. And yes, I asked Shanahan about it, and he said, yeah, the first play was, Luke, I think he said Tongas, but I think it was Luke Farrell missed a block. And Benito got home on Jones for the sack, right? Or I should say, Benito got home on got Jones for the sack, but Luke Farrell missed the block. Okay. Here it is. Here's Shanahan with a little bit of the breakdown.
Benito had a series where he just kind of ruined the whole series. How do you feel about your backups at offensive tackle right now?
He did ruin that whole series. One was on our tight end going across the formation. He just played past all the way, so that wasn't on a tackle. But it was 3 plays in a row. The next 2 plays, we went on the quick counter and lined up wrong, so he was able to jump the snap. So I thought that was a little tough for Spence. And then on the third down, we had a bust by a player who was supposed to be outside presence on him. Spence was expecting a chip, so he just sitting there inside out, and there was no guy there. So Benito's a hell of a player, so we knew that would be a challenge. But I thought those 3 plays in a row were a little unfair to Spence.
Yeah, fair enough, right? Shanahan makes a good point. So let's go through it then and talk about it, very frankly. Okay, so first one, Luke Farrell misses a block on Benito. But if you watch the play, granted, we're critiquing play design and play execution in a preseason game, but take it for what it's worth. Farrell missed the tackle on Benito, and Benito got in for the sack. But Benito's had 13 and a half sacks last year. He's a borderline all-pro. It's a bad play design to have your backup tight end. It wasn't like you had Farrell in motion to Benito's side, and all he had to do was block him. It wasn't like he was lined up over there over Benito, and all he had to do was block him. You had Farrell lined up on the wrong side. Now, is he saying that that he was lined up incorrectly, is basically what he said. So that's, I guess, what happened there. I mean, he said the tight end missed the block, but was he lined up incorrectly there? I don't know. If he wasn't lined up incorrectly there, it's bad play design, because you're letting Nick Bonito, who's got 13.5 sacks and is a great rusher, get a head start against air for 3 steps. And then Farrell on the opposite side of the formation's job is to cross the formation after the snap and somehow pick off the 13.5 sack defensive end. Come on, man. I don't like the idea of asking Farrell to necessarily block Bonito a lot normally straight up, but he definitely can't block him if he gives him a 3-yard running start and lines up on the opposite side of the formation. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe, and that wasn't necessarily on Burford. And then on the 3rd down, now Bonito's really coming. So Kyle's like, well, he thought he was getting help there. But here's the bottom line. You got to help him, because he can't handle him one-on-one. Now, it's not a crime that he can't handle him one-on-one. Burford is the Niners' backup left tackle. As I said, Benito's a borderline all-pro player. But that's what we're talking about. You're talking about a guy who can't handle the defensive end one-on-one, so you got to help him. So think about it this way. Your offensive tackle can't handle Bonito one-on-one, so you got to help him. But on 1st down, your backup tight end is supposed to handle Bonito one-on-one. So I just think they're going to have to be a little bit more circumspect and a little bit less ambitious with their eligibles, and a little bit more deliberate with their protection, and prioritize keeping Brock upright, or it's going to be a short year. Burford isn't the answer. I don't think Pleasance is the answer. I'm not sure if Dillard is the answer. Is Prince the answer? Is the answer on another roster? Should they have maybe paid DJ Humphries? I don't know, but man, Spencer Burford looked bad there. I understand, though, if you watch that 3rd play, the 3rd down play, I understand what Kyle Shanahan is saying. He's like, he blocked him at such an angle that it was like he's expecting some help. But when you don't feel the help, you still going to take that kind of an angle? I mean, I don't know. It's just either it's poor communication, poor play design. But at the end of the day, the reality is that Spencer Burford can't handle Nick Bonito one-on-one, period. And if Trent Williams went down and you were playing Denver this week, he would have to handle him one-on-one on some downs, and he can't. So that's a problem. That's a problem. And that was a big negative. And to me, this was one of the bigger negatives, because it confirmed in the game what I saw on the practice field, which is that Spencer Burford is just too slow to play tackle in the NFL. There's really nothing that anybody could say to me that would convince me otherwise at this point. Another guy that I got to shout out here. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it, but what a game by Chase Lucas. He had the nickel blitz. He forced an incompletion. Then he had another nickel blitz, and it led to Bo Nix intentional grounding inside the end zone, which was automatic safety. But I thought the most interesting thing is that Robert Saleh is using what he's got. Can Chase Lucas cover? Not so much. Not great. He did have a really nice PBU breakup of a would-be touchdown. I mean, he really had his best game I've ever seen. But the Niners last year were bottom 3rd of the NFL in pressure rate. They only had pressure on 33% of the pass rush snaps. That's horrible. Bottom 3rd of the league. And Saleh knows he's going to have to scheme up some pressure, because you got a young D line. They're going to be challenged just to get out of their stance and do the right thing. They're going to be challenged to put pressure on the passer. They're going to have to come up with pressure some other way. And Saleh used Chase Lucas as a slot blitzer, and he's got a real knack for it. It's interesting if they'll use Upton Stout that way, but who knows? If Chase Lucas is going to make the team, maybe he can make this team as a slot backup special teamer, slot blitzer, because he really looked good as a blitzer. He looked very natural, and he looked like he could get home. All right, let's get to Nick Martin. I really was looking forward to seeing Nick Martin in this game. And then I felt like, wow, Nick was flying around, but he wasn't necessarily making plays. And then by the end of the game, I mean, there were an awful lot of people who were like, Nick Martin stunk. And I'm like, whoa. So I wanted to watch the replay and check it out for myself. And the first play we're going to show you is this one right here. And you get the ball carry, it's like everybody stands up. Nick Martin. He should have made that play, and he didn't. All right, let's go back to the snap. If we go back to the snap, we show the beginning of the play, you're going to see, okay, here are the linebackers. Gifford playing defensive left outside linebacker. Okay, this is the defensive left, offensive right. Left outside linebacker, Luke Gifford, right there. Middle linebacker, Tatum Bethune, number 48. Nick Martin, right outside linebacker. Okay? If we go real slow and move this slowly, what you'll see is that Gifford gets pinched in, caught up in the trash, is banging heads on the blocker because he's thinking it's back it up. Gifford. Okay, let's see it. Gifford. Let's see if we can go it slow-mo here. We go slow-mo. Gifford gets pinched inside, thinks he's going to get in the lane. Bethune gets a little washed up in the trash. Martin reads it, fires through. Now he closes that lane. Now the running back's going outside. There's bodies there. He's got to get through the trash. Has Gifford touched him? No. Has Bethune touched him? No. Here's Martin all the way on the other side of the field, dives and doesn't get him. And now Siegel comes up with a hit and bangs him out. And if you watch that, it's like, what happened, Nick Martin? That was an amazing play by Nick Martin. The question is, where's Gifford? Gifford is the guy that's supposed to make the play on this, or the middle backer. This is a run to the left, and the right outside linebacker sees it, fires through, spills it to the outside. Those Niners right there are supposed to make the tackle. They don't. But Martin keeps chasing the guy down, sideline to sideline range, dives, and doesn't get him. He runs for the first down, and Siegel gets the hit. And lots of people be like, Martin should have made that tackle. That's not Martin's tackle to make. It's extraordinary that he almost made this tackle. This is an extraordinary effort by the right outside linebacker. He reads it now, and he's shooting the gap now, and he gets through. And then he spills it. Now he was going through the B gap. Nope. Now he's going to the perimeter. Those guys got him. Nope. But Nick Martin's still on the pursuit. Now he's going to dive, and he doesn't get him. So that was an extraordinary play, but he's got nothing to show for it. That was a first quarter play, 1st and 10 from the Niners 49-yard line. Martin playing right outside backer. First play was like 2 minutes and 33 seconds left in the first quarter. Now we're going to fast forward to the second play we want to talk about. This is second quarter, 9:25 mark of the second quarter. Denver's sitting at a 2nd and 3 from the Niner 31. And this is another great play. And he, a little bit, it's like, bad instincts, bad gap control, bad. But if you look at it, he's flowing. He's got the blocker on his right shoulder, and the blocker gets hands on his number. Back that up a little bit. You can see 86 get hands on the number. Look at 45. Where's his hands? On his number. That's a block in the back, baby. That's a block in the back. So this was a TFL, if I've ever seen one. This is a really good fast linebacker attacking aggressively downhill. That's what you want. He was flying downhill, and he got a little bit of a clip by the Dieters of the world that attacked Nick Martin and said that he was no good. This is what they cited, that he's out of control, that he misses too many tackles, that he overruns things, that so if this kind of play continues, those people will be correct. But to me, the indications with what we're seeing here, this is a guy who moves so well that I can't. Is this also Nick Martin? Let's see here. Yeah, there he is right there. Nick Martin on a run play. Okay. And he gets stuck on the block here, and he wraps his arms around him, and he fell off the tackle. Yeah. And it happened a bunch. It wasn't a good game for Nick Martin. But I just wanted to show, I'm not trying to apologize for Nick Martin. He had a bad game. But he showed a lot of the traits of why the Niners took him. And when you're all gas, no brakes, you're going to miss some plays. Kevin Krueger has tweeted out, Nick Martin, linebacker is the one spot where you don't play live until the game. So you don't really get any live snaps. Even when you're live, you're not live because you're not going to hit your teammates the way you're going to hit the opponent. So you're always kind of playing a little tentative. And then all of a sudden it's game night, But this guy's he missed some tackles, but his play strength is great. His speed is great. His agility is great. His production at Oak State was great. He's a leader. He's smart. He looked good. He was firing. He overran some stuff. He fell off a couple blocks. It wasn't perfect. But I think the traits are there. I think the traits are there. I would say this: if you're gonna be worried about anything, I don't think I would be worried too much about Nick Martin. All right, so that was Nick Martin. Then Alfred Collins. I want to say something about Alfred Collins. Collins had a play that I thought was really interesting as well. Collins had a play where he rushed Bo Nix, okay, and he didn't get home. And this is going to happen a lot. And what he did here is just the veteran move. He made sure he knew he wasn't going to get home on the pass rush. So what he did was he made sure that he crossed the quarterback's face, got his hands up in the passing lane, and made it a more challenging throw for Bo Nix. It's the kind of play that you want to see if you're Chris. Like, I guarantee if you're Chris Kasarik and you're rolling that film back, you're going, Alfred, way to go. Way to go. Because, yeah, do I want you to blow up the guard and throw him down like tissue paper and get in the quarterback's face and throw him down? And, yeah, that's the goal. But if you can't get home, cross the quarterback's face, stay in the passing lane, and get your freaking hands up. And he did that. So I thought Alfred Collins, there's a lot to learn there. And it's going to take everything that Chris has teaching-wise to get this kid up to speed. But he had a very nice moment there. Very nice moment. I want to shout out Corey Kiner. Corey Kiner did some really nice things in this game. The one thing about Corey Kiner is that he's not going to be a 50-yard burner runner. He's not an exploding runner. He's not a Garendo. He's not taking it to the house. What he's going to be is a very efficient runner. He's going to be a perfect finisher for the 49ers and for Kyle Shanahan. He's going to be their finisher. When they want to put the game away, this guy will fight and claw and twist and turn and get every last yard. This kid has heart. Shanahan said after the game that he thought Sebastian Valdez might have been the guy that stood out the most. And, Valdez has just got a great motor, and unbelievable hands. He was active. He had 4 tackles. He had 2 solo. He had a half a sack. He had a TFL. He had a hit on the quarterback. He's nice. There's no way he's getting through waivers, so they better put him on the roster. Yeah, he will be on another team if he gets subjected to waivers. Good defensive tackles who can rush the passer, especially with the Niners' struggles at rushing the passer. If they cut this guy, they have to have their head examined. Here's Shanahan talking about him.
Valdez, the undrafted rookie, defensive tackle, is flashed.
Yeah, I'd say he flashed the most today. Just noticing him out there.
What, is a bit of a surprise, or did you guys, when he came in, think there was something there?
He's been flashing a lot in practice. He's been a problem in one-on-ones, and it looked like he played the run real well today. When our line coach talks about him in practice, that means he's doing some stuff, and it was good to see it carry over to the game today.
Where did he come from? Was there somebody in the draft process that you remember banging the table and talking about Valdez? Because he has been impressive.
I don't remember exactly. We ended up recruiting those guys hard after the draft, but I know he was the guy that we targeted.
There you go, little Kyle Shanahan there. And what Valdez does is he's a good pass rusher, but he also has a great motor. So I think he can really help out. Last night, Coach Yak put this out, 4 total. He really is nice. He's got great movement ability, really strong hands, strong upper body. If you can win with bull rush, and he can, then everything's predicated off that. Then they've got to anchor with their, with everything they got when you have the bull rush capability that he has. And then when you're anchoring with everything you got, guess what? You're not as quick to the edges as you need to be. And this guy's got, as Don Pooney explained to us last week, he's got real good hand usage. He's really good with his hands. He's also got pursuit ability. Look at him move down the line of scrimmage here. Look at him move his legs. Look at him move. It's 300 pounds right there, folks. That's 300 pounds pursuing the line of scrimmage like a linebacker. He looks great. Sebastian Valdez is on this team. He is on this team. There's just no way he wouldn't be on this team. That's incredible play right there. That's 300 pounds going down the line of scrimmage and making a tackle. Yeah, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. So whoever picked him and pounded the table for him deserves a raise. And the last thing we're going to talk about are the 2 guys that I thought probably deserved the game ball. Like if I said, hey, game balls, if they invited me in the post game, said, Krug, award a game ball, I'd be like, game balls for Tatum Bethune and Marquise Siegel. Siegel was probably even more impressive from the standpoint if he's a 4.37 safety with great coverage ability, but he hits. This, I think we saw the starter. I saw the future last night. The Niners starting safety combo at some point is going to be Malik Mustafa and that guy, Marquise Siegel. And now you understand why they cut George Odom. You got Marquise Siegel. You got other players there. You got Jair Brown, who didn't suit up, and I think is a really good player. I know a lot of you guys don't. I do. So I like what I see at safety. And Siegel was tremendous. Tremendous. Think about that. He's a 4.37 guy, former corner who can cover, and he's a hitter. What a pick. That was a great pick. That was a fantastic pick. It's just all about, can he stay healthy? He looks great. So I tip my cap to Marquise Siegel. And to me, that's the gem. What gem did they discover in preseason game number 1? Marquise Siegel. Gem number 1. Gem number 2, though, has to be Tatum Bethune. Tatum Bethune redid his body, and he's faster, and he shows it. He made tackle after tackle after tackle after tackle. And all the guy does is show up at the football. And it's not accidental. He's always had instincts. He's always know how to make plays. But this year, he added a half step or so via speed. He desperately needed it, and the results are awesome. And I expect him to make the team and be really good. He's just a very solid linebacker. He plays faster than he times. And now he's playing even faster. He plays faster because he's in better shape, but he's also playing faster because he knows the defense. I think this guy showed this game last night that he's a starter. He's a starter. Tatum Bethune is a starter. He may not start their best position. I also thought we'll finish, as far as one guy that we're not going to talk a lot about, but I noticed him and I liked what I saw with Stone Blanton. The two underrated guys that I was like, I wasn't sure what they were going to contribute, but I really liked it. Stone Blanton in the second half and Bradley and Nye, the Utah defensive end. Nye has really great motor and he's got every trick in the trade in the books. He's a veteran pass rusher with all the tricks, and he doesn't have great speed, but he's got a motor and he knows what he's doing. And those guys look like players. They look like guys who might be able to help the 49ers this year. Stone Blanton doesn't look like much, but man, he shows up at the ball. He's really productive. He knows what he's doing, and Nye knows how to play. So interesting first game. The scoreboard looked bad. The Niners backup quarterbacks, not a good night for Carter Bradley, not a good night for Tanner Mordecai. There were, Denver was the better team for sure. But I think the final score isn't necessarily indicative of a lot of the positives. And I wanted to show you those Nick Martin plays because there are two plays there that he didn't make either play. And yet it showed unbelievable, vision, courage, speed. You gotta process it. You gotta see it. And we're going to have more to say about it throughout the week. But thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueger Show. Thanks to Claudaddy Arcades and Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to Kev for putting together the video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueger Show on YouTube.